way more than that, and then go back to powering and do a little attack with the roaches. So for instance, I could make 5 or 6 roaches and attack with those, and while I'm attacking, that's when I'm expanding and making all my extra drones. And then the Protoss can't expand early, he needs to build more cannons, he might even have to build an extra set of zealots he didn't want to. Very, very easy, straightforward things. So of course, here, when we see Dimaga is making these roaches, just trying to do a little bit of aggression with them. Looks like it ended up falling, but could have done a little bit more damage, but you can see that even if 3 more roaches were in that mix, Painuser would have been in considerably worse off shape. But either way, Dimaga is looking quite good. Doesn't have enough guys mining here, but he is remaking many, many of the drones. And, you know, I still feel like anytime you're doing this sort of center expand, I'm a fan of getting a 3rd queen early and just creeping everything together, because that makes it so easy to defend. Creep. A lot of people just treat it as a bonus as opposed to an essential piece of good strategy. So for instance, someone might say, oh yeah, if this was joined together, that would be nice, that would be helpful. But what I would argue is that, hey, if you join this together, you suddenly have a guaranteed defense on these 2 bases that you wouldn't have had before. It's not just an extra little boost, it can be something that's used both for defense and for offense, such as creating an overlord highway and then doing a big old timing push. Now this is the sort of thing that I'm not the biggest fan of, what Painuser is doing right now. That's largely because Zerg often has a lot more roaches than just this. I mean, here, oh god, oh man. Notice that part of the reason why this is happening is because the roaches are so slow off the creep. Ew, yuck, oh man. And this Hellion Harass, this sort of Hellion Harass is only being really good because this was a little bit weakly defended. That's it. If this was strongly defended, the Hellions would have had to move away, and there would have been roaches here at the front. It's much, much more difficult to defend. But now I think very clearly he's doing a pretty decent amount of goodness. Now I do want to note though that anytime you're getting harassed a lot, players tend to just automatically go, oh, I'm losing. Like right now, I think 9 out of 10 Zerg just go, oh, I'm in such horrible shape. But look at the food differential, right? Look at how high Dimaga is. He's at 60 food and has a gold expo. And his opponent, Painuser's at 42 food. Now, Painuser is kind of letting his macro slip a little bit. He has Athor up. Still way too much gas. I think that geyser was done a little bit early. But still the basic framework for a solid mech play. Getting the Hellions out to harass, starting to get siege mode for tanks. And here's Dimaga just expanding around a whole bunch. Again, I would love this amount of expanding. I think that this would be great if there was more creep spread out. I think you can get away with just these 2 units here. Just roaches. Oh, it looks like tunneling claws. I hope he's intending to research that. Remember, they did switch the portraits for speed and tunneling claws, but either way, you can rely on just Zerglings, roaches, and queens for your early defense and expand a ton as long as you creep a lot. And I think that's increasingly going to become a popular strategy for Zerg as opposed to this turtle, mass drones, and then get enough Hydralisks and just pray that your opponent doesn't have the appropriate unit mix to kill you off. So regardless, we're having a look at some good old mech techniques. So I honestly think that this command center is a little bit early ordinarily, but Painuser is aware of what his opponent's doing. Painuser is aware that Dimaga's low on drones because most of them got set on fire. He is aware that there was just a roach warren in a pool when he waltzed in here, so I think it's generally pretty okay to do this. And, you know, one thing that I really like about what we're seeing Painuser do, he's slowly adding on more and more late-game stuff, you know, getting the upgrades, getting these extra factories, but also getting the medevacs, doing the harassment. Because, I mean, a lot of people will, for instance, read anything written by Artosis that says, oh my god, Mech's way too overpowered, and they'll say, oh, okay, well, I guess I just go Mech, right? So then they get on, and they're all happy, they get all pumped up, they start making some tanks and some Hellions. Oh, hey, I kind of get this. And then they just get overwhelmed, and they just get completely demolished. I even remember the first game I meched actually spawned against Xel Naga, and I was getting all arrogant. I was like, oh, I'm going to completely crush this strong Zerg player, because I understood that mech meant make things from factories. And of course, just after 1 or 2 well-timed counterattacks and drops, I was like 45 food behind. It was horrible, right? It went really, really badly. And the reason is because Mech is super, super immobile, so it's vulnerable to counterattacks, it's vulnerable to drops, it's vulnerable to later stages of the game when you start to spread out. And in particular, it means that it's hard to be aggressive with Mech because it's so slow. So anything that sets you up for harassment is going to be really, really strong. So look, 4 Hellions out, or having all these Hellions run up here and then run into the main while this other stuff was going on. That's all great, but make sure you don't just suddenly stop and go into happy passive mode. If you go into super ultra passive mode, you kind of absolutely need to make certain that you have this brilliant timing push planned. You can't just sort of build stuff and pray. Gotta have a lot of good timing sense there. So you see some turrets going up. Yeah, you know, this is a little bit passive, building this many turrets. Also setting up a sensor tower. I like that. That's going to cover a lot of space. Oh, there's Planetary Fortress going down. Obviously, that's good because it shoots things. But look at this medevac. That's just so helpful. That's just lovely. Hop on in there. Yep, just get in the medevac. Isn't it great that he gets the medevac and does stuff with it? I just think that he should get into... There we go. This is the sort of harass that's really going to help you leap forward in the game. And now this doesn't look that bad, right? But I want to assure you that having this many tanks not sieged is really scary. It's so easy to have a bunch of Zerglings run up here, surround, and kill all these tanks off. Now, if there was a bunch of Zerglings running up, these 3 tanks would probably kill off 12 of those Zerglings if they were packed. And that is obviously going to help you win that fight. But, you know, just be careful. Be very, very, very careful. And there's the blue flame. Sometimes people try to pronounce that, but, you know, you can always call it just the blue flame. Not a fan of this positioning. You know, the roaches down here don't do much. Would like some roaches over here. Would like maybe some roaches up here. Obviously, you know, you could probably leave one or 2 back, especially once you've creeped everything together this time. Some more drone roasting. So effective, so strong. Excellent, absolutely wonderful stuff. Now, one thing to note, we do have this infestation, or this layer coming up, being morphed into a hive. I do think that a big key to Mech is getting hive reasonably quickly, or if not that, getting some sort of drop reasonably quickly, getting Nydus Worms, because honestly, if a Nydus Worm spawned here, Terran really doesn't have anything that can even get there fast enough, unless he starts leaving stuff behind in his base. And hell, if you Nydus Worm here and Nydus Worm here, I mean, what can Terran really do about it? Gotta exploit that mobility against Terran. Now, I want you to just note something, because, you know, let's just go around. I always like to do this. You know, in any game you do this in, it'll be something different, you know, because sometimes I say the same things again and again and again and again, you know, because I kind of assume that there are very few people who watch every single thing that I do, and it's also important to reinforce concepts, but I always say this: pause and look around and get a feel for what's going on. Get a feel of what exactly the players are up to and what state they're in. And this will always be different in every single game. There's always drastically different things to do. The pause is just the beginning to sort of look around. I'm noticing only 1 upgrade's up. And when 1 upgrade's up, I always try to look at the army. No chance in a million years he could attack then, so probably want to start getting another upgrade, just so you have another timing attack coming up soon. And by the way, a timing attack, for any of you who are new, and that might be a mysterious word, or even for any of you who misunderstood, a timing attack is just a good time to attack. Right when your upgrade finishes is a good time to attack. Right before your upgrade finishes is a bad time to attack. So we abbreviate it by just saying, hey, there's a good timing attack. But there's nothing mysterious about it. It's just obviously something that's going to be a little bit better. So that's where I'm getting that from. There's no sort of mysterious experience that I've had. It's not some sort of relic I read, you know, just like stuck between the cushions on my couch. I found it. Oh, timing attacks happen when you have +2 attack. No, I just sort of, you know, just winging this. Oh yeah, forgot that we were pausing. Yeah, so kind of looking around. Terran looks pretty reasonably locked up tight. Might want another tank. Actually, 1 more tank here. Just Uno tank. Other than that, looking pretty good. Have 4 unit-producing structures. Have the ability to start getting some Ravens or Banshees or that sort of thing. Now, one thing I'm noting from Zerg, wow, look at the food on Zerg. 150. How many queens are here? 1, 2, 3, 4 queens. Wow, big macro. Behind on the upgrades. But man, I'm impressed at how far ahead this Zerg is. So now I'm starting to think, wow, maybe if we just got some spine crawlers here, or already had roaches here, we would completely lock down that bottom left side of the map. I mean, Again, remember how I was saying earlier, Painuser really needs to make absolutely certain that as Mech, he's not hopping into passive mode. Well, that's exactly what he is not doing. Look, here comes more blue flame. I really think that these guys still should have been moving up here to sort of split up. We went from 2 different attack paths at the same place. It's not as good. Now look, Dimaga was 50 food ahead, and now he's just a little bit closer to 40 food ahead. Now he's getting a little bit. Okay, still, he's about 40 food ahead. Alright, cool. It looks like, you know, getting closed off that gap a little bit. That's good. That's excellent. Dimaga's money is a little bit high. Oh, his hive is done. Now, I'm starting to look around, getting a little bit concerned. I don't see any use being made of that. Ooh, uh-oh. There's a spire here, not being multi-greater spire. Really think that that hive should